Welcome to the GymWits podcast. I'm Ryan George. So if you're a regular listener to the podcast, this is a little strange for you because there's no theme music, and that is because I am by myself for today. Basically, long story short, I was away for a few weeks, and we did not have anything on the back burner to post. So I wanted to try to get something out because we missed last week, which was intentional, but I didn't want to go 2 weeks without a podcast for our regular listeners. So as I mentioned, I was away for 3 weeks. I was on vacation. It was really, I had an amazing time. I know I mentioned it a few times on the podcast before, but I actually was heading to Thailand, which if you practice Muay Thai, it's kind of like, it is the motherland. And so for me, it was really a fantastic vacation. The first leg for me was actually being able to train Muay Thai, which was an amazing experience. I was able to just, wake up, do a private lesson in the morning, rest, eat, take a nap, and then train at night. And the training was pretty intense. It consisted of 3 hours of pretty intense training, and it was really great for me to be able to kind of just be able to work out without having to work. And it was just a really awesome time. I learned a lot, trained a lot. Challenge with Thailand is the weather. In the U.S. we're accustomed to work, even if you're training hard, you're accustomed to training air conditioned place, nice circulation, where in Thailand you're basically training outdoors. So the heat and humidity were a bit of a challenge to get used to, but it was really a fantastic experience. And then my wife met me after I was training, and we got to be tourists. So we were all over the place. We were in Chiang Mai and Bangkok. We went to Cambodia for a few days, and then the last leg of the trip, which was probably the best thing, was we spent time at Boon Lot's Elephant Sanctuary, which is this amazing elephant sanctuary in it's outside of Sukhothai in Thailand, and one of the best experiences I've ever had. The first day there, the woman that runs the place, or the founder, Catherine, kind of gave us a spiel basically that this was not really a tourist place so much as a place for us to observe the animals, so it wasn't about like interacting and feeding and bathing, which was perfectly fine. I had expected that, but within a couple minutes of her saying that, one of the elephants coming back from his kind of morning, or her morning eating, walked right up to us to say hello, which is just amazing. And it was just a really great experience. If you follow us on Instagram, I've posted a bunch of photos on Instagram, and I'll also leave a link in the show notes to some other photos if you're interested in seeing some of the experience. But it was just great, like waking up in breakfast, and a couple of the elephants were just kind of hanging out, and just leaving. I had one of the greatest experiences. Basically, while we were packing our stuff up and getting into the van, we spent I think 2.5-3 days there, and so the mahout, I think that's how you pronounce it, kind of like the person, I don't want to say handler for the elephant, but they're kind of like, they have, each, there's one per elephant, and they have this kind of symbiotic relationship. And he brought 3 of the elephants. They're known as the Gossip Girls because they tend to spend spend time together, and they have this great relationship with each other where they're always very close. And he brought them down to kind of say goodbye, so they were kind of there, and we got close, and one of them was playing, kind of playing, I don't know, using his trunk to like play with my pants and my arm, and was good, just a chance for us and the other guests who were there to just kind of say goodbye. And there were only 6 people there, so with my family there's 4, and then there were 2 other people, and so then he started to lead them away, and as they're walking away, one of them kind of turned and walked over to my wife and I, and gave us like an elephant hug goodbye. Like she kind of nudged us and got really close, and it was just the coolest thing to have an elephant like literally stop, turn, and walk over to you to say goodbye. Words can't really describe how amazing of a feeling it was, especially when this place, they're very much about, the elephants, if they interact with you, it's because they want to. We're not forcing it. And so to have an elephant make that decision was really cool. So if you ever have a chance, look it up. It's Boon Lot's Elephant Sanctuary. I can't recommend it enough. The only issue is if you want to go, you got to plan it out, because I think it's about like a 19-month wait to reserve spaces there. So definitely check it out. They're on Facebook if you want to look at some of the photos. But really an amazing place, and my wife and I are already planning our trip back. So anyway, enough about my vacation. I'm sure I'll mention a little bit with Justin when we record this week. The other big news was a Mayweather and Conor McGregor fight, which we've talked about a little bit. And it happened this week, and it happened almost exactly as I expected. While we were driving back to the airport, we were with another couple, and the discussion came to this Conor McGregor-Floyd Mayweather fight. And I said, look, I think what will happen is Mayweather will kind of just sit back on his heels, play defense for a few rounds. Conor will punch, will be active, land some shots. And then by round 4, Mayweather will start to pick it up, and then he'll just wear him down and finish him by KO or TKO at some point in the mid to later rounds. And that was pretty much what happened. What we saw was McGregor looked good. He showed some pretty good head movement. He landed some big shots in the first few rounds, and Mayweather was content to just kind of hang out and play defense and not, let McGregor get his stuff in. And then by round 4, you saw that Mayweather did exactly what I thought he'd do. He started to pick it up. He started to push the pace. You saw Mayweather was moving forward the whole time, walking Conor down. Conor was starting slowly getting more and more tired. Mayweather started to increase the volume. And then by the 10th round, you almost saw Mayweather decided, all right, I'm finishing it now. And McGregor had nothing for him. And I think, it was a win-win, I think, for both parties. It was almost the best possible outcome. As a fan of both sports, both boxing and MMA, I thought that if Mayweather lost this fight, it would be a really bad thing for boxing. You can't have, arguably the best fighter of our generation lose to a fighter with no fights. It's just, you just can't have that. And so for Mayweather to win and also to finish the fight was huge. But at the same time, McGregor looked good. He moved well. He landed some big shots. And, he landed a lot of punches, and so that's good for the narrative. So it makes MMA look like a more legitimate sport, which it is, but some people don't take it as seriously. But it, kind of legitimizes that to an extent. It gives McGregor, makes him look really good. I mean, he was able to stay in there with the best in the world for a longer time. Now, when people ask me my own personal opinion, I think Mayweather coasted. It was probably the easiest fight of his career. Once McGregor landed a few big shots, I think a lot of people's thought when McGregor landed a couple of those hard shots was, oh my God, he's landing, he might be able to pull this out. Where my thought was, wow, he just landed his best shots and Mayweather wasn't phased. And so once that happened, it was like, this is going to be an easy fight. And you can see it in Mayweather. He really never seemed too concerned. It never seemed like he was in any real trouble. If you were kind of rating what level he was actually pushing himself, he was at a 6 or 7 out of 10 for most of the fight. He never really had to push or change gears too much. It was, I think, a pretty easy fight for him, and he pretty much coasted. I know that the kind of scorecards and if you kind of the narrative after the fight will make it seem like it was closer than it was, but I think that it was a pretty easy fight, but it still was a win-win for everybody. Boxing didn't look bad. Mayweather did what he was supposed to do, what he was expected to do, and McGregor didn't get outclassed or I don't want to say outclassed, but maybe he didn't look terrible. So I think it was a win-win for everybody, and I'm sure Justin will have a bit of a discussion. I think he thinks McGregor was better than I thought, but maybe we'll have a little bit of a talk this week about it. So anyway, since I didn't have a full thing set up for an episode, but I do have a lot of Ask the Trainers, I figured this would be a great chance for me to get some of the Ask the Trainer questions out of the way. We've gotten a whole lot more over the last few weeks, and so I wanted to try to get some of these out of the way, where typically we do one every episode. I figured I'd answer 3 or 4 today, put this out, and then we'll get back to the normal, regularly scheduled GymWits episodes next week. So the first question comes from Christina, and Christina says or asks, hey, I don't have an iPhone, so I can't get your fancy app with the extras. Particularly interested in your favorite workouts and anything else you guys can share. So Christina, that's a great question, and we like the iPhone or downloading the iPhone app for a number of reasons. But one, it does kind of add a little bit of incentive to anybody that is, kind of helps us out, gives some incentive. But I don't want to preclude anybody from getting any of the content or extra content that we do have to share. So I would like to say that I'll set up a system where we can post it on the website in addition to the app, but I can't guarantee that right now. But what I will say is, if there is any episode, and this goes to anybody, if we mention anything that we post on the app and you don't have access to the app, just shoot me an email at thegymwits@gmail.com, and I'll gladly email you or send you a link to whatever that workout is. So if there's a specific episode, just let me know the episode title and what the information is you'd like, and I'll definitely send that over to you until we have a better system for uploading, the workouts or any of the extras that we do have. So definitely just shoot me an email with what you're looking for, and I will definitely put it up. And hopefully what I will try to do is make sure that any of those extras are also posted on the website. I just can't guarantee I can do that. Gotta double check on that, but we'll definitely try to work on that. Okay, so the next question comes from Christina, and Christina asks, so what are your thoughts on the weight strength exercises used in most bar class offerings? Traditionally, I've always trained and coached using heavier weights and a full range of motion, though I've noticed that studios are now using light weights for smaller isometric movements nonstop for 10 to 20 minutes. Is there any real benefit to these exercises, or are we better off going back to traditional heavier weight and full range exercises? So Christina, that's a great question. As usual, it's always very person specific, and to an extent, it depends on what your goals are and your own time constraints, etc. So, the first thing I would say is you always try to do what you like or what's fun for you. So if you're taking a bar class, this might be for you or go for anybody, and that's something you really enjoy doing, then I would tend to say stick with it, because it's better to stick with something you like doing, even if it's maybe less effective or efficient than something else. It's better to stick with something that you like and that you'll keep doing and stay consistent with than to do something that may be the right thing to do, but you may or may not be able to stick with it. So that would be my first thing. But I would say that, your kind of your intuition is probably right, or is right, that heavier weights, full range is typically going to be more effective. You only get stronger in the range and in the weight range and in the literal range of motion that you're working at. So if you're doing kind of shorter reps at lighter weights, it's good for muscle endurance, I guess, but you're not, overall it's not very practical. You may feel the burn, so to speak, but I don't know that it's the most practical thing in the world, and it's the most effective use of your time if you're just trying to find the best thing to do. So the best thing to do is stay more traditional in that 8 to 12 rep range, maybe a little bit less if you're really looking to build strength, maybe a little bit more if it's muscle endurance or if there are injuries. But really, doing the heavier weights at full range is going to be more effective long term for you than that style. But like I said, if you feel like that's the type of class you really enjoy and that motivates you, then I would say stick with it at least part of the time. So again, it really depends on you. But if it doesn't matter one way or another, I'd probably go back to the traditional style, or maybe find like a boot camp or interval training type class where you're doing things that are going to be still full range, heavier weights, versus again the lightweight short range isn't always the most effective thing in the world. Okay, this next question comes from Michael. So this is a little bit of a long-ish question, so bear with me. All right, so it goes, hey guys, I'm a new listener to your show, and you guys have said a lot of things that have opened my mind to working out and dieting. I was wondering if you can help me with something. Lately, I've been reading this book called Bigger, Leaner, Stronger by Michael Matthews. In the book, it informs me a lot on how to work out, and if I was looking to get bigger and stronger, I would have to aim for 4 to 6 reps on each workout. I was curious on what you think about that. My goal right now is to get a bit bigger and then to cut. Right now I weigh about 180 pounds with a bit of fat on my body, but I'm working on that and changing my eating habits, and I'm also looking to build muscle. I take protein daily, maybe protein bars daily, four times a day to be exact, one during breakfast, one during lunch, one before workouts, and one after workouts. What do you think about the way I'm going with this? Love your show. Keep up the good work. All right, Michael. So yeah, that you pretty much have it right. If you know, it varies a little bit. So if you're looking to build strength, so just strength, then the 4 to 6 rep range is generally going to be where you want to be. Sometimes even lower, but that really depends on the level at which you're trying to build strength, and how long you've been working out, how long you've been training, if you're competing, if you're doing the strength building for sports versus competition, et cetera, et cetera. But generally, like for just pure strength, I'd say 3 to 6 is probably the range you're going to be, lifting in. Now, that being said, if the goal is to get bigger, the size is a little bit different. So when it comes to getting bigger and building more mass or muscle mass or hypertrophy or size of the muscles, that's going to be a mixture of like volume and the weight. So what volume means is basically if you were to multiply the weight times the sets times the reps times the exercises, like that's the total volume of work. So that needs to be fairly high in addition to the weights being high. So then instead of looking at a, let's say 3 to 6 rep range, you're looking at more like a, 6 to 8, 6 to 10, even 6 to 12 rep range, where, when you're lifting, those last few reps are still challenging. They're still hard, but you're going to be doing a little bit more repetitions than if the focus was purely on building strength. So in my own kind of personal thing, when I'm building a strength program for somebody, I tend to go, well, it depends. If the person has zero experience lifting weights, you kind of have to build in. There's kind of a phase where you're just working on kind of the basics and the fundamentals. But I like to start with building a foundation in strength. Then you can work more on the hypertrophy training, and then you can work on cutting if your goal is like, if you have this goal of like building and then dropping. So you kind of, if you can build a foundation and increase your base level of strength, that's always an ideal. Then you kind of can do some of the more volume muscle building training, and then you can go into cutting. So that's kind of a short idea. So, if you're following the book, it sounds like the book pretty much, has it right. I would just say that, the rep range really a lot depends on where you're at in your own fitness program and what your goals are. So like if you're let's say you just picked up the book last week and you have zero weightlifting experience, I would probably start much lighter and start focused on really building a foundation of the fundamentals. So really just getting the brain and the body connected and comfortable with the movements, and make sure you're doing the things with the right form. Maybe a good time to get a trainer and make sure you're just, form becomes a really important issue if you're just starting. But like I said, let's say if you're somebody who's a regular in the gym, you're not, you're acquainted with the weights and the exercises, then you can probably bypass that step and go into a step where you're focused more on your strength. But like I said, if the goal, you really have to decide if the goal is more about building the strength, and really about how much weight you can move around, then yeah, that 4 to 6 rep range is going to be good. But if the goal is more like you just want to get bigger muscles, then you may need to increase that rep range. And again, a lot of this is person specific, so everyone's a little bit different. Some people can lift, low volume with heavy weights and build a lot of muscle. Others can't, and some people can do high volume and build, and others can't. So everybody responds a little bit differently, but I think the book has it right. But like I said, just kind of assess where you're at in your own kind of fitness world right now. Assess kind of where you're at. Are you just starting? Are you fairly comfortable with what you're doing? And then make a decision on like what your goals are. That will help you kind of figure out what the right thing to do as far as your following the program in the book. Okay, so I got one more question that I will cover today, and this question is from Todd. And Todd asks, "Hey guys, my old trainer told me that it's good to take a week off every few months to let the body recover, let the muscles recover, in order to improve the body. Do you think that's good advice? Should I try to take this extra time off? All right, Todd. So, I'm gonna be honest. I don't recall a lot of research on taking kind of a week off every few weeks. It's something should probably look into. I would say though, off the top of my head, I don't think it's a good idea to take off completely from exercising. So you have, like we've talked about, periodization in the past, and so there is such thing as kind of planning, kind of tapering off of exercise. So like if you're and I would say also if you're a competitive athlete, then after a competition it may be good to take a week off to recover. But if you're just a normal kind of everyday person who works out, I don't think that it's necessary, because you're never pushing your body. I shouldn't say you're never, but most of us aren't pushing our bodies to a limit where we're bordering on injury or bordering on fatigue, to the point where we need that time to recover. So what I would say is more important is maybe tapering things off when necessary. So if, let's say, you do like CrossFit or something that's fairly intense, maybe you can't maintain the highest level all the time. So it might be helpful to, every few weeks take a week where you bring things down a notch. So I wouldn't say stopping altogether, only because, a lot of research has shown that, if you miss 7 to 10 days of exercise, you'll lose a significant amount of your own fitness level, diminishes pretty rapidly. So to just plan a week off every few months seems a little counterproductive, because then you have to kind of regain what you've lost, and it usually happens pretty quickly. But I would say I wouldn't plan it, except to say maybe, again, if you feel like you need time off, then you can taper things off and maybe slow it down. So if you work out 5 days a week, maybe cut it down to 3 or 4 days a week. Or if you're running 5 miles every workout, then run 3 miles. So you can do things just at a lower intensity. But I wouldn't necessarily just take full on, like, a full week off without exercise. Now, that being said, if you have a vacation or something coming up, where work gets really busy for a week, and you need to take the week off, it's fine. Taking a week off or even 2 weeks off isn't going to kill you. It's not, it's not ideal. But if it's a week off for some reason other than that, that's perfectly fine. But I wouldn't start scheduling weeks off every few months from exercise, because the body needs to recover. Again, the only caveat being, if you're the only exception, I should say, is if you're a high level athlete where you've just finished a competition and you need that week to recover. So otherwise, I don't think it's necessary. And I'll do some more research into it, and if I find anything that maybe counters what I'm saying, I'll definitely bring it up, and maybe worth an episode to talk about anyway. So I'll definitely look into this a little bit more. But off the top of my head, I really don't think that advice is that important, unless, like I said, you're a high level athlete. All right, so that is it for today. So again, sorry, it's just me today. So I know you guys will miss Chef Sonic for the day, but he will be back. We'll be back to normal next week. Things have gotten thrown out of whack with my own vacation, and we had some scheduling issues, because typically we try to get a lot of these in the bank so that when I miss time or Justin misses time, we can throw things back out at you. But this is just one of those periods where it was very difficult. So everything will be back to normal next week. Keep sending your questions in. You can send them to thegymwits@gmail.com. You can also go to the website, thegymwits.com, where I think we have a submission form for Ask the Trainer questions. But, just keep on communicating with us. I definitely want to thank you guys. We've gotten lots more feedback over the last few months. So really keep it coming. We love the feedback. We love the questions. Anything we can do to help you helps us, as long as you're engaging with us. So check us out on social media. Again, if you're interested in seeing how my vacation went, check the show notes. I'll try to include a link to some of the elephant stuff, and check out our Instagram. I posted some photos over there. I think it's _GymWits on Instagram, and also obviously on Facebook. So that is it. I'm Ryan George, and for today, I am the GymWit.